Today on Locked On Rockies, what should be the top priority for the Colorado Rockies, the offense or the pitching staff?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the third day of October in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. All sorts of Rockies fans have been checking in after the season. Let me know what's on their mind, so let me know. How are you feeling, Rockies fans? Let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Easiest way to help the show grow is by subscribing to the YouTube channel. So close to that 1,000 YouTube subscriber mark. Really would want to hit that before the end of the year. Your support there really does mean a lot, folks. I can't emphasize it enough. They're liking the videos, 5-star reviews, all that good stuff as well. Who am I? I am your Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk, as I have done for over 3 seasons now, and been following this team my entire life. And we're diving into Rockies baseball each and every day here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. We'll dive into some of the playoffs as well. We officially have to hitch our playoff bandwagons to some teams here. And I had a tough moment. And I will have to make a painful admission here when we get to that. But we'll get there. Before we get there, I want to talk about the excellent mailbag that Patrick Saunders wrote yesterday that I certainly recommend you checking out if you want some answers to some questions, especially regarding Bud Black, especially some of the future as well. We're going to take a look at some of the answers to the Bud Black questions, but there's really great answers to some of the other stuff, including some answers about Chris Bryant and just some of the about young guy and development and bullpen there. So there's some good stuff. We'll dive into the Chris Bryant question as well as just some of the thoughts on manager from Patrick here, just because really important to do so. That's a really important storyline, I think, following the news of Bud Black, because it's, again, the Bud Black reunion falls in line actually with exactly what we're talking about today too, with what's the first priority, fixing the offense or fixing the pitching, because it all kind of falls into this theme that we've been talking about this week. And I know I don't want to go over it, but it's impossible to ignore. It's not a question of should the Rockies do some of these things. It's a question of will the Rockies do anything? Will the Rockies make any big moves and acquisitions to supplement the offense? Will the Rockies bring in anybody to pitch? Because they have 5 pitchers that I'm pretty sure that they believe in, most of which under contract. And then as for Bud Black, as we'll get into here into the piece, it ain't a done deal that he's going to be gone. So are we really confident that the Rockies will make any changes? And again, I know how silly that sounds. I know how crazy that sounds. Because it's ludicrous. Because changes absolutely have to be made. But this is the Colorado Rockies we're talking about here. This is a team that hasn't made a lot of sense. Hey, before we dive into all the fun, Booking.com is sponsoring today's episode. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. All right, so Denver Post, Patrick Saunders. Go read the mailbag. Seriously, folks, this is a really good recap at the end of the year here, and I don't want to. I don't want to go through all of it, but he gets a Patrick from Robert in, let's see, and he asks about Bud Black, and he asks about what it means for it to be for Black as well, because he mentions in the question, it's like losing 100 games has to weigh on him, and here's just part of Patrick's answer here. You're correct when you say that losses weighed on Black, who's now 67. However, he's an incredibly positive person, and that serves him well. There are several reasons why Black might return for his 9th season as manager. First, I don't believe he's ready to take a step away from the game. He loves the day-to-day job of being a manager. That said, I could see him taking on a front office role. Second, Black likes the teaching aspect of being a manager and is excited about the system's young pitchers, and he wants a chance to help mold them at the big league level. Third, I believe Black would hate to go out on the back of 2 100-loss seasons. It's and he follows up with because in Robert's question he asks what did Charlie Blackmon's retirement does that factor into the Black decision for him and also the lack of talent being given to Black throughout his time with the Rockies. You're correct that the front office has not supplied Black with enough talent to win. That's especially true with the Rockies' underwhelming offense. Finally, I've talked to several veteran players about Black's future. They've told me that Black still has the players' respect and is well liked. However, a couple of players told me that a new, fresh voice would be good for the team. I want to dive into what I think should be what makes total sense. Is it that crazy to make Bud Black the pitching coach? If it maybe instead of him having to have the focus of managerial stuff, if he wants to mold pitching, why doesn't he just work with just the pitching? And the Rockies can go and do a different approach. Again, this is a Rockies offense that has not been able to recuperate after it lost its talent. They have not developed offense. They have not had guys take major steps forward in being an offensive threat. Later in the mailbag, someone asked, who's the next Rocky that's going to hit over a 900 OPS? Because the Rockies haven't had any fear to bring into anybody's to any pitchers, which is true. So when I see those type of ideas, when I see or a front office role, why not allow Bud Black to still be, if he wants to still be involved, why not let him focus solely on the pitching? Because his managerial style and his managerial approach isn't getting the most out of the players that he has. And yes, Bud Black has not been done any favors when it comes to free agent acquisition. Again, the Rockies were hoping for a lot more from Chris Bryant. That's abundantly clear. And there's nothing that falls on Bud Black. But again, this is a team that is sitting here and saying, we think that Ryan McMahon and Brendan Rodgers and Jake Cave and these type of players are elite offensive threats. Or at least that's what it feels like. And that's just plain and simply not the case. The Rockies are an underwhelming offense that strikes out a ton and in plain and simply does not take anywhere near full advantage of the environment that it plays. So when I ask the question, what to address first, offense or pitching, I think the offense is the biggest problem with the Rockies. I think you can get away with pitching that isn't top drawer elite level, but good enough. I think the reason why the Rockies made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons was because they had good pitching. Was it elite, great pitching, best rotation in baseball? Maybe some flashes there, or Germán Marquez being the best pitcher in baseball, a couple of flashes certain times, and Kyle Freeland and John Gray having strong seasons. But it was the fact that lineup was absolutely deadly from the top 5 guys. The Rockies were trotting out a lineup of Charlie Blackmon, Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story, DJ LeMahieu. And then mixed in sometimes with some power guys, some interesting stuff. For Gerardo Parra wasn't necessarily the best thing, but he was a clutch hitter. When they added these veteran guys, they were veteran guys of impact more often than not, except for first base. But you didn't need to add as much because you had that core right there. You had 4 guys that just absolutely dominate. And they could, and in multiple situations, if the Rockies were more aggressive at the trade deadline, they could have added a better offensive threat at catcher. They could have done something differently at first base to go around with these guys that they had. So because I don't think you're a Rockies team that finishes above 500 or is a playoff team if you don't have elite offense. At least some players that are elite offense. If you don't have players like like when the Rockies had Arenado and Story, when you're sitting there and you're saying, this guy can hit a home run or blast something in the gap. It's why you're building with confidence with Tovar, because he's starting to show you that type of stuff. The biggest, the one of the most impressive and exciting things about Ezequiel Tovar this season was not just the offense in general, but the extra base hits, the doubles, the slugging. I mean, that's what matters to me. I am pleading, begging for a Rockies player to hit 30 home runs. I am pleading for Rockies players to have multiple 100 RBI guys. That's how you're going to win as the Rockies. Your pitching staff has to be good enough to keep you in games and the Rockies out offense you. Because there's always going to be an excuse for pitching. There's always going to be the course field thing. There's always going to be this. There's always going to be that. There's always going to be these factors. You know what doesn't matter? Just mashing the ball. And you're watching the playoffs, right? You're watching the playoffs pan out, and you're looking at the Padres, for example, and you're saying, man, just about every single batter in this lineup poses a threat to this pitcher. You cannot take a single pitch off, whereas the Rockies are still figuring that out. And that's even with their prime middle of the order guys. How scared are major league pitchers of Ryan McMahon? And I ask that honestly. How scared of Brendan Rodgers are major league pitchers? It's nowhere near the same level of, and I know fear is maybe not the right word, but regardless, intimidated, challenged, maybe there we go. Feel challenged by. I don't think a lot of pitchers look at the Rockies offense and the Rockies offense in the post-playoff years and say, this offense is a threat. This offense is a worry. They're more worried about a wacky course field getting dink-dunked and all that. So I think the offense is the biggest importance. And let's talk a little bit more about this, and how dive into the idea of, again, how many changes do we think the Rockies are actually going to make? We'll also revisit some more of the Bud Black comments here in the mailbag from Patrick Saunders on the Denver Post. And later on, I'll let you know who I'm jumping on the playoff bandwagon for. All that and more coming up on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Booking.com. Yeah, why not go check out somewhere for the postseason and enjoy some playoff baseball? It's going to start getting cooler probably real soon. I know it's prime time. October in Colorado is pretty nice, but if you're looking to get away and go watch some playoff baseball, or maybe check out your baseball rivals city and check out the NL West slugfest that's going on in Southern California, well, Booking.com's got you covered. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay. You can even try all the baseball cuisine. You know how important it is to have great stadium food. Booking.com is going to help you get there with those perfect rentals for you, or finding the perfect hotel stay, or maybe a resort for you. All across the U.S., it's available for you. And you can even have a little bed and breakfast if you're interested in something a little more low-key and a little more fun. Booking.com is going to help you get where you need to go and have the perfect accommodations to enjoy your trip. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Check it out. All the good stuff at Booking.com. Booking.yeah. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, for free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. Just bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. Hey, for your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. Our guy Sully's breaking down all things postseason baseball and all the storylines that you need to keep up with. And man, postseason baseball was fun last night. There's some good stuff, good stuff. We'll talk a little bit about the playoffs here coming up, but I just wanted to kind of, again, as much as we can sit and plea for the Rockies to do something differently, for the Rockies to embrace change, for the Rockies to look for something different, there's still a good chunk of me, over 50% of my gut, I would say, says that the Rockies are back in a similar fashion next year. Look similar. I mean, because I just don't know necessarily what the Rockies are going to do. And if we necessarily feel confident that this team is going to move on from these players. And I think it's interesting here at the end of this part that we read in the first segment here. Patrick Saunders says he's talked to several veteran players about Black's future. They told me that Black still has the players' respect and is well liked. However, a couple of players told me that a new, fresh voice would be good for the team. It might just be a couple, but like, don't you think that Ryan McMahon wants to look at something from a different way, or Brendan Rodgers? Like, again, if you're those guys and you're going into spring training and Bud Black returns and it's the same rotation and you make acquisitions on the level of Jake Cave and such, how's your confidence? Obviously, as an athlete and a competitor, they want to take the step up. I know that. I know Ryan McMahon's probably frustrated with how the second half of the season went for him. I understand that. But if you're going to go to spring training and you already know what to expect and you already know what the routine is like and you know how it's there, are you really going to get the things that you need to change your game and enhance your game and get better? Just like so many other aspects of the Colorado Rockies, it sure does seem like a new voice or a new perspective or new ideas are really needed. And if Bud Black really wants to still be a part of things, the Rockies are really good about making that happen. They'll make it happen. They can find. I like the idea of a front office thing. I like the idea of having him work with the pitchers and being a pitching coach. I mean, he has had success with pitchers, but I'm also not sitting here saying, Bud Black, like, dude, look at the last 6 years. And again, I know it's not just him, but where's your where are you vocal at the trade deadline? Are you vocal at adding players? Are you challenging Dick Monfort? Are you putting pressure on this organization to improve this roster? And there might be things there because at the end of the day, he doesn't spend the money. But he has influence, and of course, if you're liked by Dick Monfort, you have influence. But if you just maintain the status quo, if you don't make any changes, if you bring Bud Black back, if you stick with this pitching staff, if you stick with the current offense and current lineup, why are we to expect anything different than a 61 and 101 loss season next year? Oh, the younger bullpen. There's this. Yeah, sure, but I'm not counting any bullpen chickens before they hatch. And I am enthused and excited by the amount of people that can come and throw 100 miles an hour out of the bullpen, and they're young and they've had success and they had a good, strong sample size at the end. That will be the difference maker. But is that the difference maker that gets the Rockies playing in an NL West matchup for the NLDS next year? Or in the year after or the year following? I don't think by continuing to do the same stuff, you're making your team better. So when I hear that there are players that are interested in a fresh voice, I wonder if that is it's something that ownership hears and raises an eyebrow of curiosity and something to explore, or it's something they want to tamp out and get rid of and disbarge because it's disloyal. It's not following what they need. I just don't know how. This is where it would be great to be able to hear from the people that are within the organization. I mean, again, there was a piece Thomas Harding said, internal optimism. It sounds like what we've been hearing for a long, long time. Let's go back here to that. I wanted to see if there's anything we missed here. Oh, okay. So here's an answer about Colton asked about Bobby Meacham getting the promotion from AA, who just won the Manager of the Year for the Yard Goats. And it's a while Saunders agrees that he's got the connection with the players, he did a great job. Apparently the Rockies also like Warren Schaefer, interested in that. But here's really what I wanted to focus on is, again, more comments on Bud Black's future here. Regarding Black's status, a couple of people close to the manager have told me that Black expects to return. However, the fact that the Rockies are delaying an announcement, as well as Black's reluctance to talk about the situation, makes me wonder if he's coming back. Black is usually very open with me about most things regarding the team, but he has been elusive about his future with Colorado. Perhaps a shakeup is in store for the staff and front office, which could be part of the reason for the delay. That's, again, Patrick Saunders in the mailbag that he wrote yesterday, Colorado Rockies mailbag, weighing Bud Black's future with the team. This is weird because the Rockies usually get stuff done pretty quickly, and if they make up their minds pretty quickly. For it to be at this stage, for it to be right here, for it to be in this situation, I think there is at least consideration being done about moving on. I am totally, like I said, I am just basing it off of years of following the Rockies and reading this stuff. I have no sources. I am not, I got nobody on the inside. But it just seems a little weird. Just seems a little weird that it's taking this long, because how long do the Rockies want to go through this offseason in this kind of flow state right here? Like I said, are they going to make changes at manager? Are they going to bring people in to fix the offense? Are they going to bring people in to address the pitching? What, like right now, we're kind of, we're in the pool and we're just treading water. We're just sitting here, because in reality, it's like right now, do we need to know? Does it have to happen right now amidst all the playoff stuff? It'll probably get, a Rockies managerial change in the middle of the playoffs is going to generate little buzz. But in terms of buzz generation in that little term, I do have to sit here and think that there are people out there that are fascinated by the prospect of being on the Colorado of managing the Colorado Rockies, of being the person that takes their creative idea and goes into a unique environment and makes it happen. And looking at the talent, again, you look at the fact that you have two growing talents, two talents growing into all-stars, and other players with real intrigue. Again, if Nolan Jones bounces back next year on a healthy season, that's a big boost for this Rockies team. But it all comes down to, will the Rockies make that decision? But I think the job would be an attractive one. I think there'd be a lot of people really interested in this job. And I think there's people interested in this team and interested in fixing this. I mean, I watched the playoff videos, man, that got posted from the last time the Rockies were in the playoffs. It's just like, God, I crave that atmosphere. I crave hanging on to every pitch. The little bit of October baseball we've gotten is just such a tease, because I'm watching it and I'm just so jealous. All right, it's time. It's time to announce my playoff bandwagon pick, and we are going to dive into that. We'll wrap up the show coming up next here on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. And hey, it's Thursday, so what goes on Thursday? Well, that's NFL action that kicks off this week of NFL football action, so why not check it out on FanDuel? And if you got a big hunch during the game, you can open up that FanDuel app, and you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, so you know exactly the information you need to place the right bets. You can get a big return with FanDuel on America's #1 sportsbook all throughout the NFL season. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Go check it out and get that $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. And maybe, hey, back the Broncos a little bit there. Who knows? Check it out. When you place your first $5 bet, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's FanDuel.com. We are also brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is taking the sports action world by storm. What do I mean by that? Well, with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. So if you're into the baseball, you maybe want to go strikeouts, walks, base hits, home runs, stolen bases, more or less. And you pick the players. It's not someone's going to not take that player that you want to watch and follow, or that one that you know is going to be a little sleeper pick or something like that. No. It's just you against the numbers. That's it. And you can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. And PrizePicks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money back in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup when you use the code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, run your game. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk. Thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out our pal Sully on Locked On MLB, bringing all things postseason to your podcast airwaves. Hey, and folks, the playoffs have been fun. Playoffs have been good. I had a moment yesterday, and I'll start this before officially announcing my playoff bandwagon team. And I almost made it teams. And Javi, this is for you, man. The Padres are fun. The Padres, if the Padres win the World Series, I won't be that upset. Just because that's a fun team. And they also lost to the Rockies. So at least we can feel a little bit better in that. It's hard, I don't want to be totally against rooting for the NL West. I will never root for the Dodgers. That will never happen. The Padres just, it's everything we talked about in this episode, right? It's batters that intimidate and challenge pitchers. It's pitchers that dominate batters. It's a team willing to embrace change, willing to make moves, willing to do something differently. And I don't want to hear about market size. That's San Diego. That when you're talking about market share of a state split up by multiple teams, I don't want to hear it. That's a team that does a lot of the stuff that we Rockies fans want. So I don't want to officially declare my playoff bandwagon team as the San Diego Padres because, we're not going to fully latch on there. But I'm rooting for the Tigers, man. I am right. I thought that team was better than it was into the offseason. I did pick that. I picked them to make the playoffs ahead of the season. And that's the type of story, man. That's the Tigers are what make baseball special and what makes the baseball postseason even better. A team playing their best ball after making adjustments at the trade deadline, hint, hint, wink, wink, and getting better and going on a historic run. That's why baseball's fun. That's why the long seasons are entertaining. That's why it matters. Those are the teams that make it fun to root for, easy to root for. That's the team. What do you want me? We're going to go root for the Yankees. We're going to root for the Dodgers or the Phillies. No, man. Give me the Tigers. On the NL side, if you really look at it, I guess the Padres. I am rooting for the Mets a little bit. But Mets did a little bit of Metting last night, didn't they? Oh, man. San Diego and the Dodgers in the playoffs again, in just a dream scenario for baseball, as the Rockies just we're like that the group of fans in SpongeBob, like when they're all in the crater of the jellyfishing guy Kevin, and that's us Rockies fans right there. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us. Patrick Saunders' mailbag. Really recommend you go read that. Patrick gave us some great insight there into the future of Bud Black. Colorado Rockies mailbag, weighing Bud Black's future with the team on the Denver Post. Go check that out. Lots more there about young players, team MVP, lots more great stuff. As always from Patrick, it's always important to go support your favorite Rockies media members. Folks, thank you so much again for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. Or if you are looking for a some more Locked On Colorado sports coverage, we got Broncos, we got Avalanche, we got Nuggets, and we got Buffs. And I think it's pretty busy times and pretty good stuff for all of those pods going on right now. So go check them all out. Free and streaming to you. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from Locked On Rockies podcast.